Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Snack Time with Michael Hearst. I am your host, Michael Hearst, and I am the author of several books, including Unusual Creatures, Extraordinary People, and Curious Constructions, which is the book I'm going to read from and play a song from today. So, uh, first and foremost, this is the most recent book of the three that I've written. There's a fourth on coming out eventually, and this one was so much fun to put together. I love structures and buildings and statues, and so this has 50 of what I think are some of the planet's most awesome structures, including the Coney Island parachute jump on the cover, which I've already done an episode for. But for today's episode, I thought I would look at Paul Bunyan statues. Um, by the way, I wore a flannel shirt for the occasion. I didn't have a red flannel shirt, but I thought I would at least put on a flannel shirt. And of course, you guys are probably wondering what my snack is, since it is Snack Time with Michael Hearst. This is my snack. I made my own trail mix. I do this. I love to just take random. We have lots of bags of random dried fruit and nuts, and I just put them together in a bowl and make my own trail mix because when you're on the trail with Paul Bunyan, you need a snack. And if you're allergic to peanuts or almonds, of course, just pick and choose what works for you. Okay, so Paul Bunyan statues. Let's read this, and then we'll talk a little more about it. Location: various throughout the United States. I'm not sure you're going to find these in any places other than the United States. Do you know the story of American folklore hero Paul Bunyan? That's okay. I had to look it up myself. In short, a long time ago, a giant lumberjack traveled around the country, often with his faithful companion, Babe the Blue Ox. Paul used his superhuman strength to chop down trees on the frontier, making room for cities, farms, and people. In the process, his massive footprints filled in with water, turning into the 10,000 lakes of Minnesota. Apparently, he also dragged his axe behind him for 300 miles, creating the Grand Canyon. America loves Paul Bunyan, and in his honor, songs have been written, theater productions have been created, and numerous silly statues have been erected across the country. So I first heard about all these. I'd seen some statues, especially at gas stations and other places around the country, and was always curious about them. And I didn't really remember the whole legend of Paul Bunyan. And then I looked it up, and okay, and yes, this is what I remember. There was this guy, this giant, who walked across the country, clearing the way, chopping down trees, and I didn't remember the part about the Great Lakes. That's insane that his feet were so big that he could make the Great Lakes. Of course, this is all a legend, which means it is not entirely true, or true at all, for that matter, in this case. And then I heard a story on This American Life at some point about all these statues and thought, oh man, this is a perfect subject for a book on curious constructions. All these crazy statues all over the place based on folklore legend Paul Bunyan and his ox, Babe the Blue Ox. So I have here some pictures of some of these. There's one in illustrations: Brainerd, Minnesota, Menastique, Michigan, University Park, Illinois, Bangor, Maine. It seems like a lot of them are in the Midwest, except for Bangor, Maine, or in places where there's lots of woods. And here's a very brief multiple choice quiz. Okay, question 1. This is multiple choice. Other giant statues in America include A. Marilyn Monroe with her dress blowing over her knees at 26 feet tall. B. Abe Lincoln in Ashmore, Illinois at 72 feet tall. C. Santa Claus in North Pole, Alaska at 42 feet tall. Or D. All of the above. What do you guys think? You probably all guessed D, all of the above. It's true. We love statues here in America, especially Paul Bunyan statues. 2. Paul Bunyan is not the mascot for... Remember, he's not the mascot for which one of these? A. Skyline Motors in Forrestal, Missouri. B. Paul Bunyan's Cook Shanty in Minnequa, Wisconsin. Minnequa, I'm saying that right. And C, Paul Bunyan's land in Brained, Minnesota. Or D, the WWF, the World Wildlife Federation. Which one is he not a mascot for? Yeah, he's definitely not a mascot for the World Wildlife Federation. In fact, the more I learned about Paul Bunyan, the more I was kind of frustrated with the story because I didn't really like him chopping down all these trees. And but it is fascinating that our obsession with Paul Bunyan. I have some actual photos. This is let me show you some of these because these are kind of cool. There are so many Paul Bunyan statues out there. Here are just a few. Let's see, I'll go this way. There's one you can see. This is so meta showing. This is the one that actually we used for the illustration in my book. Here's another one. And another. And another. And another. And another. And another. There are so many. They are just countless Paul Bunyan statues. So I wrote a song, and it's on my album Songs for Curious Constructions. By the way, this guitar was purchased by my father, actually my grandfather, for my father when he was just 15 or something years old. So it's a very old, delicate, and awesome guitar, and I'm so glad I have it in my possession. And it sounds so good. So yes, I wrote the song for the Songs for Curious Constructions album, and really, you know, it is about the Paul Bunyan statues, but it's also about why I don't like the idea of this Paul Bunyan legend in many ways. Because also there are so many other songs about Paul Bunyan. There's these Disney tunes, and they all have these deep voices. So I thought I should do a deep voice too. Have you seen the Paul Bunyan statues? They're everywhere from sea to shining sea. Across the land these icons stand. They represent a made-up man who wished to chop down each and every tree. America loves a Paul Bunyan statue. In random towns it seemed these statues grew. But if the man had had his way, we'd have no air to breathe today. Thank God the legend wasn't really true. Those Paul Bunyan statues, with his faithful ox, Babe the Blue. All across the land, these silly icons stand. I'm glad there's still some trees for me and you. That's it. That's how short it is. So yes, chopping down trees is not always awesome. That's it for this episode. It's a short one. I'm so glad you guys are all here. I hope you are all hanging in there in this unusual situation we're all in. My next book, Unusual Circumstances, including social distancing and quarantining. Big thanks to Jason Bitner and Dan Miller, who have helped produce the show. My wife, Kelly, and my son, Nathan, and Julian and Julie Landau, who are kind enough to let us stay in this house. Someone asked me recently about this loft behind us, and can I get up there? I very easily. One could get up there if they had a ladder, but yes, there's a loft up there, and it's very cool. Maybe that should be for VIP people to sit up there, but then we wouldn't be quarantined, would we? But that question was asked by Susan Henderson, and you should read Susan Henderson's books. They're amazing. Who else? Thank you to Matt Johnstone, the illustrator of this book. And thank you to Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox. And to you. I'll see you again soon. Take care.